Hello guys, welcome to the university. Alright, so today we are going to discuss a little bit of chemistry. And we will try to answer the question, why does life heavily depends on chemistry? Alright, so basically chemistry is the study of how matter came to be. Okay, so because of the chemical bonds, okay, so these chemical bonds form molecules, and there are things which we call biomolecules, and because of these biomolecules life became possible. All right, so let's start. So the chemistry of life. Okay, so all matter is made up of atoms, and these atoms are made up of protons, electrons, and neutrons. So this one is actually a representation, right? But this is not 100% accurate, because electrons are nowadays considered to be found in the electron clouds. All right. So the center of the atom is where we can find the nucleus, okay, which consists of the proton and neutrons. All right. So there is a difference between elements and isotope. Element has only one type of atom. All right. We have an example. We have the carbon, we have the hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, phosphorus, and then sulfur. All right. So for isotopes, we have two types of carbon right here, but basically they are both carbon. Okay. The only difference is that carbon 14 has more mass because of extra neutrons. So, ano siya, nag-extra rise siya. Okay, so, kaya siya tumaba. Okay, so medyo malaki, medyo mabigat si carbon 14 kaysa kay normal carbon 12. Okay, so, compounds. Okay, so compounds are formed when two or more elements join in a fixed ratio. They actually undergo chemical reaction. Okay, so one example is the commonly known table salt. Okay, so its chemical formula is NaCl. So elements can change properties when they combine. Like for example, this one is chlorine. Okay, so gas ang kanyang original, no? So we have the sodium, okay? And once they join together, they form this one, okay? Rock salt, okay? Naging rock star sila, okay? Alright. So you have the symbol chlorine, because chlorine is used as a bioweapon during the World War I and II, okay? So hanapin nyo na lang yung phosgene gas, okay? Chemical bonds, okay? So we have different type of bond. We have the ionic bond, wherein electrons are transferred. So one atom becomes positive and the other atom becomes more negative. Just like what happened in sodium and chlorine. Okay, sodium donates. Okay, so donates the electron to Cl. Okay, so sodium becomes positive. Okay, and chlorine is more, okay, is more negative. Okay, so because chlorine has more electron affinity, okay, so highly electronegative, that's why it was able to pull the free electron. Okay, that's why when they join together, okay, they form sodium chloride. Okay, so more of chemical bond, there is another type of bond wherein the electrons are shared. Wow, mabait, diba? So, very generous. Okay, so when it is shared, just like in water, we can form polar covalent bond. Once we say polar, there is charges, okay? Like positive and like negative, okay? So the other part of the atom is positive. Okay, so this is positive, okay, and this one is highly negative. All right, so because the electron is pulled or is shared, okay, to complete the octet rule, wherein the octet rule tells us that there must be 8 valence electron to gain stable configuration. Okay, we have 1, we have 2, we have 3, and 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 8. So there are 8 electrons in the shell. That means it forms a stable electron configuration. Okay, so yeah, the electrons is shared. Alright, so there is a force that exists between molecules. Okay, like for example, one molecule of water exerts a certain force to another molecule of water, and this is actually a weak kind of interaction between molecules. We call that interaction the van der Waals. Okay, van der Waals forces. Okay, if you want to see the formula of that, yeah, you can check the web or some other resources. Okay, so properties of water. So features of water as a molecule. It has its polarity, as I mentioned. Okay, because of this polarity, it was able to dissolve, because of the positive and negative charges. So it is able to dissolve majority of the solute. So there is a negatively charged end, which is the oxygen. We have the positively charged end, which is the hydrogen. So hydrogen bonds are weak bonds, between water molecules. And as I have mentioned, water is the universal solvent. We have the cohesion, attraction of the same substance. We have adhesion, attraction of two different substances. In this case, water exhibits both properties. It's cohesion. So attraction of the same substance. So yeah, water is attracted to itself. It's cohesion. But yes, water is also attracted to other substance, or other substance gets attracted to water because of its polar a polar nature. A bit more on water mixtures. So solutions, just what I have mentioned. Other molecules tends to be attractive to form solutions with water. One material dissolves into another. So like for example, if you're gonna put sodium there, and chlorine, so water will dissolve the sodium chloride, and ions will flow. And water is the universal solvent. Here we have sodium chloride as the solute, and it gets dissolved. And we have the solvent, well, water, the universal solvent. Alright, so next is suspension. So one material floats within the other. Alright, so like for example, the red blood cells and the white blood cells, they actually suspend in our blood. So there's a lot of components in the blood, so you can do a blood analysis if you want to know. So macromolecules, the building blocks of life. Yes, so because of these molecules, we are able to exist. So these are actually proteins. Alright, we have carbohydrates, we have so there's a lot to study. Alright, so we have macromolecules are carbon-based compounds. So since I've mentioned that carbon is, or this is the first time that I'm gonna mention that carbon is a friendly element. So pay attention, because this is the key to understanding the chemistry of life. Alright, so like I said, carbon is friendly. It can form 4 bonds. Readily form 4 bonds, so up to 4 bonds with other atoms. So we have methane. Alright, in this case, carbon has 4 valence electron, and it can pair to 4 different elements. Okay, so but right here there are two species involved. One is the hydrogen and the other is carbon. All right, so in this case it formed methane. It was able to pull up or to join with four hydrogen atoms. So we are going to count the electrons. All right, because there are electrons right here and right here. Okay, so there are four single bonds. So we're gonna count the electron. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, for this setup, so carbon was able to attain the stable configuration. All right, so that's how it is possible. Okay, so here we have acetylene. Okay, we have three triple bonds here. Okay, so it actually involves 6 electrons that is being shared. All right, so this is actually covalent bond. Okay, all right, so this is covalent bond. So there are 6 electrons involved here plus 1, 2, so we have 8. Okay, and also this one we have 6 here plus 1, 2, so we have 8. So the carbon in the middle is actually stable. All right, so it was able to attain the stable electron configuration. So we have the butadiene. If I'm not that sure if this is really its name, so you can actually check the internet if butadiene really exists. So we have 4 bonds, 4 carbons right here. All right, so we have 2 bonds right here. We call it double bond. So 2 carbons can bond. Carbon can bond to itself. Okay, using double bond, triple bond, or yeah. Okay, so we have to count if it gives 8. Okay, according to the octet rule. Okay, it will actually yield. It must result to a stable, yeah, the word there is stable electron configuration. All right, so that's gonna be stable. If it's not stable, then there's something wrong with the formula. So we have 4 here. Okay, 4. We have 2. We have 2, so there is 8, so that's gonna be stable. For this one, the central atom, okay, this is the central ones, so we have 1 plus 4. Okay, so that's gonna be 6. 6 right here. So this is not that stable. Okay, so we have 1, 2, plus 4 here, so 6. Also, this is not so stable. All right, but there are stable parts. Okay, so right here. So because there are dumbbell shape, okay, so you're gonna see that you're gonna form a dumbbell right here, so that this molecule is actually a dumbbell shape. All right, so we have the benzene. Okay, benzene has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 carbon atoms, and each carbon atom is bonded to other carbon atom, like 1, 2, okay, plus this one, 4 plus 4, so that's gonna be 8. Okay, so that's gonna be 8. Okay, so this configuration gives us 8. This configuration will give us 8. This configuration will give us 8. And then 8 here. Then 8 here. And then 8 here. Okay, so each carbon atom is stable. Okay, so we also have the isooctane. Okay, so you can try it for yourself and determine whether that's stable or not. Alright, so for this one, the central atom is right here. Okay, that's gonna be carbon, carbon, carbon. Okay, so it forms 4 bonds. Okay, So each bond shares 2 electrons. So this one has 8. So this one has 8 also. This one has 8. This one has 8. And then this one is 8. 8, 8. So this is stable. So that's how carbon bonding actually work. Okay. So next is macromolecules. When we say macro, they are large. Okay, macromolecules makes up cells and helps them to carry out cellular functions. They are made up mainly of carbon and hydrogen atoms. So, like for example, carbohydrates, lipids, proteins, and nucleic acid. Okay, so carbohydrates is the source of energy. Okay. So polymer. So polymer is a molecule that consists of a long chain of repeating parts. Okay, so we have starch, keratin, and also DNA. So illustration. So this is the chain. So they are bonded to one another. Okay, so this right here symbolizes the bond between them. Because each one is a subunit and we call them monomers. Alright? Monomer. So that's gonna be the monomer right there. So monomer, as I've said, is the subunit of a polymer and they are free. They are not bonded. Okay. So here is one monomer and then yeah. So example is glucose amino acid nucleotide. So that's the illustration. So monomers versus polymers. So the distinction is a polymer, lots of monomers that are put together. So they are linked by a bond. Okay. So mono means one, so meaning to say single, and it's not taken. Alright, carbohydrates, sugars, made up of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen, and they usually one carbon needs 2 hydrogen and 1 oxygen. So that's the ratio. 1:2 is to 1. So monomer is called the monosaccharide. Its job or its duty is to be an energy source. Okay. So it has an amount of 4 calories per gram. If you're gonna do calorimetry and test how much energy does a gram of sugar contain or of monosaccharides contain, it's gonna yield 4 calories. So you're going to see a lot of them to have a suffix of OSE. So example is sucrose, dextrose, galactose, and glucose. Types of carbohydrates. So as I've mentioned, we have monosaccharides. Okay? So sugar, glucose, fructose. So fructose is the fruit sugar. You can get it in fruits. Okay? Disaccharides, 2 sugars. Sucrose, which is the table sugar. So glucose is the one that we see, or the one that we use, okay, for us to have energy. It can be found in the blood, okay, but that's not the source of glucose. So it's actually in metabolism. So it is so we digest food and then we actually get glucose from the food that we eat. Okay, we have sucrose, or known as the table sugar. We have lactose. It is the kind of sugar or the form of the sugar that we get from milk. We have polysaccharides. Okay, so many sugars, and polysaccharides has its medicinal value right now, and there are studies that it can prevent cancer, and there are so many types of polysaccharides that are available in plants. So if we're gonna go green, okay, we're gonna be healthy. So yes, so we have glycogen. It is a type of sugar that is stored in animals, okay? Animal sugar. So we have starch stored in plant sugar. So cellulose, cell walls, okay? So plants are rich in cellulose, okay? So those are their protective structures. Balat nila yan. Okay, lipids. Lipids are fats. Okay, made up mostly carbon and hydrogen with very little or no oxygen at all. Its simple unit is triglyceride. Its job is to store energy and acts as a waterproofing, a cell membrane. Okay, so just like your skin, the energy content of a gram of Lipid is about 9 calories per gram. So it stores the most amount of energy, because if you're gonna compare it uh, to sugar, sugar has only 4 calories per gram, or monosaccharide has only 4 calories per gram. So per 1 unit, it's actually twice that of the energy content of a single gram of monosaccharides. And it's not soluble in water because it is nonpolar. Alright, so types of lipids. So we have fats, oils, waxes, and sterols. So we have two types. We have the saturated, has as many hydrogen as possible. Okay, so usually solid at room temperature and comes from animals. So solid sila sa room temperature. So we have butter and cheese. So unsaturated, so there is missing or there is more hydrogen. So usually liquid at room temperature and comes from plants. Okay, oils. Okay, trans. Okay, meaning to say they are chemically modified to be saturated and gives food a long shelf life, but this is also a source of bad cholesterol. Alright, so guys, the food that we eat, the junk foods that we eat has a lot of trans fat. Okay, so some examples are shortening or margarine. So lipids, okay, we have the saturated fatty acid. So this one. Okay, so we're gonna count the carbon. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So there's 16 carbon atoms right here. So are there enough number of hydrogen for each carbon atom? So yeah, they are fully occupied with hydrogen, so there's nothing missing. Okay. All right. So that means this chain, okay, is actually unsaturated. All right. So here is an example of unsaturated fatty acids. So you're gonna count the number of atoms right here. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, then 18. Okay, why is it that this is unsaturated? So because of the double bonds that is somewhere right here. Okay, so that's a double bond. Okay, this one has a double bond. Okay, so that has a double bond right here. So supposedly that there is, or there must be a hydrogen atom somewhere here, but since there is a double bond that exists, all right, so there is a double bond that exists, so H has no chance to bond right there. Okay, so also here there should be an H somewhere here, so H is missing in this unit. So that's an indication that it is unsaturated. Okay, so we also have this one. So H is missing right there because of the double bond. Also this one. So how many hydrogen is missing? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6. So 6 hydrogen atoms are missing, so that's unsaturated. All right, so basically if you look at the two structures, they are almost identical. Okay, so here, yeah, so there is a difference. Okay, the only difference is that there is a double bond right here, and this one lacks 6 hydrogen atoms. Alright, so unsaturated fats such as canola oil are liquid at room temperature. Alright, so nucleic acids are made up of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, and phosphorus. So its monomer is nucleotides. Its job is to store and transmit genetic information There are two major types. We have the RNA and DNA, and we're going to explore them one by one. So a type of nucleic acid. So actually, adenosine triphosphate is actually a nucleotide. Alright, so if you haven't found that in the past, so one resource tells us that it is actually a nucleotide.
A nature.
So that's
Shop to a nature.
We have RNA, which is the abbreviation for ribonucleic acid, and we also have Alright, so going back here. So a nucleotide is composed of several parts. So one is the nitrogenous base, which is right here. And later on we are going to study what is this nitrogenous base. And we have a 5-carbon sugar somewhere right here. Alright. And we have the phosphate group. Alright, so this is Alright. So going back, so this one is the nitrogenous base, this is the carbon sugar, this is the phosphate group. Alright, so later on we are going to analyze the composition, okay, of the 5-carbon sugar, nitrogenous base, and phosphate. Alright, so here is actually a DNA, okay. So this dots right here are the bonds, okay. So which are these ones, okay. So this is the sugar, okay. So and this somewhere right here is the phosphate, okay. And this thing right here is this one, okay. So that's how we classify them, because if we're just gonna name it CAGT, so we do not know what's that. So but if we know which is the nitrogenous base, which is the 5-carbon sugar, which is the phosphate group, we'll be able to visualize what is what and which is which. Alright, so we have here the nitrogenous base. Alright, so here we have the adenine, okay. So why nitrogenous base? Because there's nitrogen, okay. And this one is the 5-carbon sugar, okay. So and here is the phosphate group. All right, so we have the phosphate, okay, and phosphorus, okay, and 5 oxygen, right. So yeah, so the sugar is the ribose, as in ribose in RNA, and deoxyribose, meaning to say there is a oxygen, okay. It has something to do with the oxygen, okay. Here we go. So we have the another nitrogenous base, which is the guanine. All right, so this is adenine. We need to say this is adenine. All right, so this is A, this is G. All right, so where is that? So this is A. So yeah, that's A. And this is G. All right. And where is C? C is somewhere right here. Okay. And I just do not know why it's on the reverse thing. Okay. Yeah. Order. Okay. ACTG dapat yan eh. AGCT pala. AGCT. Yeah. Maybe there's something wrong. Proteins. Okay. Carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen. So, ang monomer niya is amino acid. So, its job is to control the rate, okay, of cell reactions. Okay. So, in other processes from muscles and bones move to yeah. So the suffix is IN or ASE. Alright, so helicase, insulin, hemoglobin. Okay, so the hemoglobin transfers oxygen. Alright, so because it bonds with oxygen. So proteins, most diverse type of macromolecules, meaning to say there are a lot of different proteins, okay, and there are so many variations. And it is said that proteins can be made from a combination of 20 different amino acids. Okay, these amino acids are very important when we are studying protein synthesis, because amino acids are the building blocks of proteins. Have unique shape and that determine their job. If they lose it, they don't work. Okay, so meaning to say, function of protein is like a key, okay, and lock. Okay, so there is a particular shape. So for a specific purpose, like for example, hemoglobin. Okay, so it has a shape, okay, that enables it to be like a disc shape, okay, that enables it to flow, to pass through, okay, capillaries, okay, and so on and so forth. So if hemoglobin changes its shape, so we're gonna have blood problems. Okay, so proteins and enzymes. So a chemical reaction needs energy in order to take place. All right. So pag pinag-aralan natin, if you're gonna study the Arrhenius equation, so there is what we call the activation energy. All right. So proteins and enzymes, or enzymes actually lowers the activation energy. So it can act as a catalyst. So in this example, we have reactants, okay, but for it to push through, there is an amount of energy needed. All right, so you need to surpass that, and that's what you call the energy needed to be broken or to be equalized, and that's gonna be the activation energy. Just like when you scratch the match, okay. So if you do not scratch the match, the head of the match without friction, without extra energy, reaction will not push through. All right. So here, if there is an enzyme, so it will lower the activation energy. Okay. So supposedly there is a high amount of activation energy, so in the absence of enzyme. But if enzymes are present, the energy needed is just small, and reaction will push through. Okay, so this one so needs large energy because there is no protein there, no enzyme. But here we have an enzyme, so we have small e needed. Okay, so and enzymes are very specific, so they will only work for a specific reaction, for a specific protein, okay, for a specific duty. Okay, so each enzyme has a specific shape that allows it to target a specific substance. So we have the substrate, okay, and the enzyme. So substrate is kung saan sila didikit, okay? So lock and key. So if they do not fit, enzyme will not activate. Okay, so macromolecules, graphic organizer. Alright, so we need these things in our study. We have carbohydrates. Alright, so its building blocks is sugar. Alright, and then this is the chemical formula for that. Okay, and then the drawing. Okay, we have the lipids. Alright, so we know that there are carbon atoms there, and there are saturated and unsaturated and trans. Okay, so there are three types. We have proteins. Okay. So we have the soluble and non-soluble proteins, no? Kasi parts pala, no? And then we have the nucleic acid. Okay, so cellular function of carbohydrates, short-term energy, structure, cell ID. Okay. Energy storage, cell membrane, and then signals. And then starch, glucose, lactose, cellulose, and then chitin. Okay, yung chitin, exoskeleton. Yeah. Tama ba? Yeah, if I'm not mistaken. Then food source is bread. Okay, phospholipids, cholesterol, steroids, and fat and oils. And then this one, keratin, collagen, hemoglobin. Then for transport, eggs and beans. Okay, ang source niya. So, we have nucleic acid, DNA, RNA, ATP. Okay? So, pag kumain ka, lahat naman daw may DNA. So, lahat daw you know. But there are things that, like blood, it doesn't have DNA. So, it's not all. So, how do macromolecules help maintain cellular structure and function? At bakit ka nga ba kakain ng dugo? Bawal yun. So macromolecules make up cell structures, and each group carries out specific cellular functions. So lipids, okay, cell membranes, energy storage, and then yeah, so those are the macromolecules or the molecules of life. Okay, nucleic acid controls cellular activities. Questions. If you have questions, guys, see you next time. All right.